Thanks, Scott. And I'm glad everybody could make it today. This is pretty significant from a topic standpoint. I don't think there's anybody on this call who wouldn't agree that data protection, data resilience has become the #1 issue that organizations are concerned about. It's hard to even have a conversation with a client without that coming in, which for IBM is a good thing, because as you'll see, and hopefully as you already know, IBM has been taking some very aggressive steps to really create a total overall solution. And let's be clear about something. I hope everybody on this call understands this. There is no one magic product that fixes these data protection, data resilience issues. Far from it. Wouldn't that be nice if that was the case? But it's not, because there's so much nuance, so much difference. You know, are we talking about primary workloads, secondary workloads? You know, is this virtual? You know, is it on-prem? As you can see, there's just a myriad of factors involved. So IBM has created this thing called IBM Storage Defender to help solve that problem. And with that said, I'll just toss this out here, and I'll toss it over to Sam, and just ask Sam, you know, can you illuminate everybody on the call as to Defender and the scope of Defender?
I'd be happy to, and maybe I'll introduce myself. My name is Sam Werner. I'm the Vice President of Product Management for the IBM storage portfolio. So I'm responsible for the end-to-end portfolio, which includes primary storage, tape, data protection software, and on and on. I'm sure many of you are familiar with our comprehensive portfolio. We spend a lot of time, I've been in the industry a long time, and I've watched data protection evolve. If you go back, you know, there's kind of always been two fundamental ways of protecting your data, ensuring recovery from different types of events. You use storage replication and snapshots in your primary array, and you use some kind of backup software, right? I'm sure most of you out there use some combination of the two or one or the other. Usually the storage replication is about disasters. If I lose access to hardware, if I lose access to a site, I can fail over to another location, to another system, to another network, whatever it is, right? But that protects you from different types of failures or loss of access to your location. And the other piece then is backup. Backup's usually there to protect you from things like logical data corruption, malicious employee, mistake made, I accidentally deleted a file, my email somehow got deleted, can I get that back, right? All those different things where I need to recover, and I go to some backup administrator and ask for the data back. The problem is a cyber attack is fundamentally different than either of those. And most companies are depending on these processes for high availability and disaster recovery or backup to help them get back when something happens, but it's insufficient. And it's insufficient for lots of reasons. When I talk about those other types of events, all of those were very, you know, random types of which data would be affected, and I have to bring back a piece of data. With the cyber attacks, they're targeted, and they very specifically go after your backup, first of all, and they very specifically try to take out all of your data, which means you're bringing back very large amounts of data or trying to recover big amounts of applications. So you have to take a different approach. And so I know very long-winded answer to your question, but essentially what we're doing with Defender is bringing together capabilities from backup, capabilities from storage replication, putting them together into a single orchestration engine, and then giving you the ability to shorten the window of detection. We'll get into more of some of these challenges. I know we will. But bringing all that together and then giving you the ability to find your best copy of data in the shortest amount of time and recover if there's an attack. Like I said, we'll get into more of that. But Defender brings all that together into a single pane of glass and orchestration for management. You're on mute, Roger. Always have to have one of those.
Yeah, I know. I should know better by this point. Well, that's helpful. So, as you mentioned, Defender is comprised of a number of different things to help address different issues and different areas of potential problem. So, for any of the three of you, how does Defender work? I mean, is this an all or nothing approach? Can you help educate the folks on the call as to how they would utilize Defender?
Well, I was going to give others a chance to chime in, but I will go for it. There's multiple components here, right? And one of the things that you have to think about in a cyber attack is first of all, how long it's been since the last time you made a copy of an application. I think that's normally what we're talking about. Maybe it's a VM, how long it's been between copies, and then, what the time it is to detect a problem, an attack. Because what really matters at the end of the day is your recovery time objective and your recovery point objective. Recovery time being the amount of time it takes to recover, recovery point being how much data was lost. Now, a cyber attack really looks more like a disaster than it does anything else. In a disaster, you're going to lose access to something and there's going to be some amount of data loss, right? You're going to have to recover back. So that would be your recovery point objective. So if you lose some data, you might have to replay journals to recover lost transactions. Depends on what your application is. You might have to recreate data. There's lots of different approaches. So those are the key points. Now, what we bring to you is a set of capabilities. We give you industry-leading backup capabilities, which allow you to take backups, which are immutable. You can just deploy those capabilities, which is called Defender Data Protect. It gives you, a very good modern approach to backup of VMs, of databases, whatever you need. And then we have detection of your backup repository to look for ransomware patterns. And we can actually detect anomalies and notify you if we find something. And that shortens the exposure window. So depending on how frequently you're doing backups, depending on your application and the size of your network and all those things, we can shorten that recovery time as much as possible. Then for your more mission critical applications, let's say you're running SAP, maybe you got an SAP HANA deployment. We can do primary snapshots on your storage and do real-time detection or near real-time detection for anomalies within your primary array. So you can use these individual components. You can use our primary storage, replication and snapshot and detection capability. You can use our backup capability. Both have detection and both come together. It depends on what your recovery point objective and recovery time objective is.
Okay. And the other part of that question is this all or nothing? Can I pick and choose? Or if I've already got some capability, do I have to duplicate that again if I go with Defender?
So you can pick and choose and use the components you want. Our ultimate goal with Defender is to integrate with various different technologies that you may already have. So that is the ultimate goal. Right now, we deliver the backup capabilities you need. If you're already an IBM Storage Protect customer, it will integrate directly into the Defender platform. If you're already an IBM Flash System customer or DS8000 customer, we can provide that orchestration of those arrays and bring that all together and now deliver additional data protection capabilities with Data Protect and some additional real-time detection capabilities with that portfolio.
I was
Hopefully
gonna,
that answers
Okay.
the question.
Roger, I was gonna add, like a lot of the things that we talk about, as Sam was kind of mentioning, right? It's really around that recovery piece, right? Defender's really helping on that recovery time objective, right? That RTO, especially in these threat and cyber threat issues. But a key component of this is also to kind of integrate with solutions that a customer may have around like their SIM and SOAR, right? The prevention side of the house, right? The things that you're normally typically talking to our security brethren around, right? To kind of say, hey, I got to go um, provide that prevention of the data coming in. Try to keep as many of the bad actors out, right? Trying to keep that 1 in 1,000, right? From trying to keep coming in, right? The thousands of attacks that could potentially happen. And by reducing that number, right, we're kind of preventing it away. But we want to have that integration and that crosstalk between those security tools and what Defender can provide as well. So we want to Sam's point, right, integrate with tools that a client may have already in place, especially like that, like SIM and SOAR. Take the components that we want to kind of take on. But one of the things I like to kind of point out to our clients, Defender is a product, right? It is a product, but there is somewhat of a framework concept behind a lot of this. Talking about clean room capabilities, right? Talking about that snapshot management and talk about, integrating with it. A lot of our clients will kind of come in and say, where do I start? And so one of the basic things that I kind of point out, hey, can we look at doing a clean room for your backup, right? What backup tools are you using, right? Where are you going to go? Are you having that communication between the SIM and your backup solution? So it is a concept all the way around. But the nice thing about Defender is it's actually productized, right? We actually have a product solution around it. And as we grow and Sam, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, right? But as we kind of grow the product set, right, we'll probably have more and more integration points, right, with these other tools that are out there.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And you mentioned a couple things. So my understanding of Defender is that this is a subscription service, and we've now discovered from what you gentlemen have said that we can pick and choose from amongst the member components that make up Defender. Does Defender, I mean, this is self-serving because I do know the answer to this, but does Defender have a goal later in this year? What are we doing to make Defender even better and simplify Defender, since it does have these multiple pieces in it from a management standpoint?
I mean, I guess since it's a roadmap question, I'll take that. First of all, one of the things we did with Defender is it's a SaaS control plane. Extremely modern interface. You use your IBM ID, you log right in, and you go into a very simple experience. You don't have to go install some user interface. And we're going to continue to expand upon that and add in additional capabilities and additional integrations. One of the things we do right out of the gate today already is integrate some of the management and monitoring of IBM Storage Protect and the new capabilities we have with Data Protect under which is our new modern approach for VMware backup and modern data protection. So we integrate that under single pane of glass. Later this year, we're going to be adding in capabilities like orchestration of flash system from that same SaaS control plane, allowing you to do the safeguarded copy snapshots on flash system, along with offload to your backup repository. Additionally, we're going to introduce some new capabilities, some new real-time detection capabilities for ransomware that will actually be able to look in the metadata of file systems. This is unique IBM technology coming out of IBM research that nobody else has, that will actually be managed and deployed from Defender and do real-time detection of your file systems, looking at signatures within the metadata in real time and be able to detect up to 90% in our testing of ransomware attacks. We've already introduced some real-time detection or inline detection within our flash system arrays as well. So we're going to continue to expand upon our ability to shorten the window of detection, which is probably the most important thing to getting the best recovery times. Is the faster you discover it, the more recent copy you'll be able to fail back to, which will shorten your recovery time. That's really, really important. In the event of a disaster, all of a sudden your hardware fails, your system crashes, and you have to fail over. You begin recovery immediately from the time something happened. Your IO fails and you switch to another location, another system. In the event of ransomware, it can go wreak havoc for days before you detect it. And now you've lost days worth of data depending on when you've been doing backups. So shortening that detection window is so important. So you'll see a lot of the capabilities we're adding in later this year around shortening the detection and better integration with SIMS and SOARs so that you can kick off security protocols to begin responding to these attacks. So good notifications and clarity on what's happening and helping point you at what type of recovery you need to do.
Excellent. And you and Jig had both mentioned at different times Data Protect, our newest, most modern protection capabilities. And I would like to let folks on this call know that there is Data Protect Level 2 training that will be hitting, well, for IBMers, it'll be hitting what we call Your Learning, and for business partners, your normal learning channels. So just be aware, folks, that there is new content coming to help better educate everybody on what we can do, and even more so, how it ties into this whole picture that everybody's been talking about. So, watch for that. It should be in the next couple weeks. So does Defender work well? I think we know the answer to this, but it'd be great to just get a definitive answer. Does it work well with other third-party tools, things like Splunk? Is that part of its ability?
I'm happy to take that one as well. Yes, I mean, we integrate with QRadar and Splunk, and we'll continue to expand our integrations with other SIM and SOAR type technologies. So absolutely. I'll just mention back on your enablement piece on all the materials that we're making available. We'll do about 30 different walkthroughs of the technology so you can see how it actually works as part of that, the work that Roger was talking about. And we're also going to make demo capabilities more widely available and kind of POC testing. So for any of you end users out there who are interested in trying it, we can absolutely help you with that and make it available so you could do a trial of it. So we're expanding all that capability as well.
And Roger, I was just going to mention one of the questions that's kind of come up in the chat window, right? We kind of mentioned like, where do we start, right? Kind of thing. Is there kind of a recommended list? I think it'd be case by case, right? Where the client's at in their journey of getting to this cyber resilient stance. So it's not prescriptive, right? And kind of say like, hey, this is exactly what you're going to be able to do. I think you need to kind of go case by case on where the client is in their journey of moving towards cyber resiliency. So that's one. I think two, I think we should describe really on the licensing model, right? And how we're kind of positioning this. A lot of people have used a lot of analogies, right? When we were talking about RUs and what that really means. And RUs is resource units in our terms. But I think maybe the best description was, hey, arcade kind of scenario, right? You go in, you're buying an arcade card. If you've gone to a recent one with your kids or yourself, right? And you've bought an arcade card and it has 100 tokens on it. And you go use, 5 tokens for a skee ball, 10 tokens for pop a shot, right? You know, like that, those different functionalities, those different games, essentially kind of different functionalities within the Defender portfolio, we can then go leverage, right? So you can kind of use those components under one SKU, being able to drive whatever products that kind of essentially needed for what your to get you to that cyber resiliency stance, right? You know, to get you to that capabilities. So is it the flash system, you know, capability, and you're looking for copy services manager or copy data manager? Are you looking at your backups, and are you looking at the data protect piece, or are you looking at storage protect? Whatever it may be, right? You can kind of go use those licenses and credits accordingly. And then hopefully in the future, like we keep talking about, more functionality, more integrations, and more connections, right? Maybe we can drive more towards that RU space, right? So single SKU, that's the kind of key point around this, right? And you can move things around as needed.
All right. Well, thank you, Jake. That actually helps. I kind of like that analogy because that's easy to follow. Now, a question that comes up a lot recently, and I believe that you gentlemen have touched on it, but could one of you clarify for the folks on the call? I've heard IBM use the term MVC, or minimum viable company, a number of times, and folks have asked, what the heck is this minimum viable company? Does somebody have a good answer for that?
I mean, I could say minimal viable company, right? You know, the data and server set that you need to get your business back up and running and bring back essentially what is your money-making machine, right? You know, whether it's you know, the customer facing website, right? You know, with the database that's behind it, whatever makes the business critical for to continue to run, that you're not going to go flat, right? And bury the company, right? A lot of clients, you know, have an idea when we talk about compliance or risk mitigation, right? You have an idea of what pieces and components are, you know, critical for your environment. I think you need to add that capability of saying, I want to be able to tag these critical components. And just it's a kind of a process that companies might have done, but it's actually putting almost pen to paper, right? When within Defender, the concept of having minimal viable company, it allows for that action plan to be dedicated for those critical components. So is it on primary storage, right? Do we have those flash copies? Do we have those tested as well, right? Pre-tested before any type of threat or disaster occurs. When's my last known good copy? Is it on the quickest way that I can recover it? Like Sam's point way early on, right? You know, a lot of this targets your backups and targets, you know, a lot of the primary storage and all the data that's behind it. If you had to go and recover an entire set from secondary storage, driving all that data over the wire to primary storage, it'd take days, weeks, right? You know, to get that all over. So you need to identify that. But obviously that's costly too, right? So if it's very costly, you don't want to do everything, right? Your company an entire full workload, that would be pricey, right? So what are the critical components that you need to get back up? That's the key MVC concept.
Yeah, I mean, I would start off
Okay.
by saying, you got to start off and say, for me to resume operations in my company, what are the core applications that I just absolutely have to resume operations? If you're in manufacturing, maybe it's your ERP systems, right? Maybe if you're more of a sales organization, it's your CRM. You know, there's lots of different, obviously, business process tools you use that are required for operations. If you're in retail, it's your point of sale systems. So you got to know what that is. It's amazing to me how many companies haven't in advance thought through, if something were to happen, which systems, which data, which applications, and which portions even of the applications need to be brought online quickly. I mean, the key point here, and I've seen it enough times, is trying to copy all your data back takes a long time. Most people size the network for backup to the daily rate of changes that they have to copy off to backup, not to have to bring it all back at once. And bringing it all back at once can take seriously weeks. I've been with a customer who was ripping network out of data centers, trying to get more network in place for recovery because they had to do a massive recovery and it was going to take like a month to bring all the data back. They just didn't have the network for it. So identifying your minimum viable company and ensuring that you have the right RTO and RPO, I'll always go back to that, for those applications. That's number one. And then identifying P1, P2, P3 for applications so that when it does happen, as I mentioned earlier, these attacks are targeted and meant for massive destruction. They're not meant, it's not like a random thing where a file gets deleted, a database gets corrupted, and you recover that one thing. They're trying to get everything, which means you're going to have to bring back everything, and you're going to have to do that in a intelligent way. And trying to figure that out in the heat of the moment isn't the right time to do it. So you need to define your minimum viable company up front, and then the following tiers beyond that.
Okay, that's actually great. And I think that's nice and clear for people. They'll really like listening to that on the playback of this. And, would it be fair? We've said a couple times about figuring out how to start with this process. I assume, but I know the danger in assuming, so I'll ask it, but I assume that we would also still really like to push people to try IBM's vendor neutral cyber resiliency assessment tool to get an idea of where these clients may have just gaping holes in their protections and resiliency schemes. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say yes. That cyber resiliency assessment tool is a great has a great output, right? That paper that you eventually get, a lot of our clients have now taken those outputs of saying, here's my gaps, right? My glaring gaps, or maybe just even if it's a small gap, to kind of get really fully enabled with essentially around our NIST framework, right? So it's all driven around the concept of the NIST framework. We didn't kind of really talk about that yet, which is kind of surprising, with this conversation. But the whole identify, protect, recover, right, detect, and identify, right? I think if I call it out, there's 5 pillars, right? Hitting all those 5 pillars, right, and being able to really point out where are the potential gaps in each of those 5 essential pillars. And it's a general conversation, nothing around products. We're not pointing out Defender. We're not telling the client, you got to go buy this. But we are saying, like, hey, you may not have 2-factor authentication enabled, right, over in this location. You might not have your passwords properly changed, right, in certain things, or you may not have a policy that's set for 90 days, right? There might be just those kind of typical kind of conversations around from the wholeness framework, right, from that prevention to the recovery side of the house. But clients have taken those papers and been able to go to their executives and say, hey, here's some gaps that we have identified, and it's clearly spelled out. We need to go address them. Let's put them into the budget dollars or some of the emergency funding that we might need to do to get this going. So that's helped, right? And this is a free option from IBM to kind of come in and help you get this deliverable to you.
Excellent. And yeah, the fact that it's free and that it is not an attempt, obviously we'd like to be able to use it for that, but it is not a hardcore sales push for IBM. It is genuinely a let us help you find the gaps so that you can deal with them however you choose. We would love to help you with that, but at least let's make you aware of them. So that's actually great to hear. And I would like to clarify for some folks, because I've had a number of people reach out and ask questions about this. And I believe Sam said it early on in this conversation that Defender helps tie all these pieces together and builds on the capabilities of each other and integrates with them. But there are some things that are not part of Defender, but Defender will definitely utilize them. And that's things like IBM's new inline data corruption detection, which is part of the flash system operating system, the storage virtualize. But it will, in fact, send alerts, which can then be used to orchestrate and involve other pieces that are in Defender or that Defender has the ability to reach out and touch. Another one is safeguarded copy itself. That is, again, part of the flash system or DS8000 storage arrays. So I just want folks to know it is hard to turn around at IBM today and not see IBM working diligently to protect your data and your clients' data. And, you know, just because something's not part of Defender doesn't mean Defender's not utilizing it. So just be aware all of that stuff is being integrated and tied together. We have, unfortunately, reached the end of our time, but I'd like to ask each of you if there's something you'd like to leave the folks with, something you feel is a really important takeaway for them. And Sam, why don't we start with you?
Roger, I think you just kind of made my point to a large degree, which is that we are completely focused across our portfolio on helping with this challenge on cyber attacks. Obviously, enterprises, customers, clients, whatever, have different types of security capabilities, firewalls, detection software. The reality is 50% of enterprises have had to pay ransom last year, if you can believe that. 50%. It was like 48% had to pay. And by the way, I think 15% of them weren't even able to recover after paying. So this problem is real regardless of whether you have security software. They do get through. You have to be able to recover. Roger made the point, we're putting it in our primary arrays, we're putting it in our secondary storage, we're creating this end-to-end orchestration to help you recover. And we're, I think, the only vendor that can really bring together the capabilities of primary storage, backup, and IBM security and all of our capabilities to create a complete integrated approach to this. So, you know, I urge you to look at our content that we're putting out, our walkthroughs, do trials, watch the demos. I think you'll see we have some really, really unique technology, and the stuff that's coming later this year will be completely unmatched and non-existent in the industry beyond what we have. So, I mean, in our own capabilities. So please keep an eye on what we're doing. We're making big investments and we're leveraging IBM research to stay ahead of the bad actors.
Excellent. And Jig, do you have any final words you'd like to provide?
Yeah, and I was just going to mention that this, you know, as Sam kind of said, right, the future of what Defender is heading towards is just simply amazing, right? And what we're trying to accomplish, right? Something that is unique. And as Sam said, I have not seen in the industry to this day, especially all the way across from the primary to the secondary storage, right? And putting a combined solution all the way around, and just how open we're kind of trying to make it as integrating with these other components. I think it's the one first product that I've seen also with the aggressive development cycle that's going to be put behind it, right? It's, you know, the first one that I've seen, you know, we not to say that we haven't really been keeping up with our other products and, you know, and how we're trying to progress those, but the amount of agile kind of workloads, right? The development cycle around this is just been amazing to see. And just seeing how this roadmap is planned out of integrating, right? You know, you see one of the points of, you know, like, is this a process or a canned solution? It's getting more and more as a canned solution, That's the best way to describe it, right? Because these are a lot of components that are getting put together. SOAR orchestration, SIM orchestration, right? Putting it all into the connectivity right within the Defender framework. It's going to take time, but knowing that we're heading for that, that's the beauty of it, right?
Excellent. And Mark, I know you've been fairly quiet, but you've been helping on questions and things. Is there anything you'd like to leave folks with?
Thank you, Roger. No, and I think Sam and Jigs did a fantastic job giving an overview of the product. I have a story though. I was just met with a customer yesterday to talk about Defender, and as Jigs was saying, and Sam was, it's a team sport. It's some of IBM's leading products, and we bundle with other third-party software as well. It can seem complicated, and Jigs talked about the resource unit, and then this particular customer I was talking to, they've got some entitlements, but they're only utilizing something like 67% of some of these entitlements. And when they looked at how flexible this licensing model is with Defender, they're able to upgrade their existing software and not just be committed, dependent on just that one entitlement. They could actually now use that credit for other tools and software. So they were net neutral. Well, they was proposing this right now, but doing the analysis, they're net neutral, and then having access to just a much wider bundle of software. So it's like going to a suite of really leading edge software, which it's really opened their eyes, and they're pretty excited about it. So it's
oh man, that's a fantastic ad right at the end. And to back up something Jig said just a moment ago about the level of activity and work, and Sam has alluded to this also. Folks, I know it doesn't really matter to you, but I'm actually attending multiple Defender Tiger Team meetings weekly because there is this level of activity and honestly a level of cooperation, because I think everybody involved realizes this is our clients' companies at risk. And we are doing anything and everything possible at IBM to bring a solid, reliable solution to the market. And with that, I will thank everybody for attending and your time. And I will turn this back over to Scott.
All right. Thank you, Roger. Thanks everybody for joining. We definitely appreciate it. As I said before, when we're through, I will post this up on our YouTube channel. The interim, if you have any questions at all, do not hesitate in emailing me. I'm at w.scott.wilson@ibm.com, and I will pass your any questions off to the team and get you an answer. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.